My name is Meredith Caldwell Reed. I am 36 years old, and on Christmas Eve, my sister looked across a candlelit table at me and said she deserved my $9 million inheritance more than I did. She did not whisper it. She did not say it with shame. She set her wine glass down, looked at our parents, then looked straight at me as though the matter had already been settled. "You don't even have children," Lauren said. "What are you going to do with $9 million? Buy more books? Hide in that little house forever?" My mother placed one manicured hand on my father's leather folder. "Meredith, your sister has a family. She has responsibilities. Your grandmother would not have wanted one person keeping everything while the rest of us struggle." My father slid the folder across the white tablecloth. Inside was a transfer agreement with my full legal name already typed under a blank signature line. They wanted me to give Lauren $4 million before dessert. Not loan, not invest. Give. Lauren leaned back in her chair and smiled at me. "You'll still be rich," she said. "Don't make this ugly." That was when the private dining room doors opened, and my grandmother's attorney stepped inside carrying the original will. The room went quiet so fast I heard the silverware stop against the plates. My mother's face tightened. My father stood halfway, then sat down again. Lauren looked annoyed at first, as if an employee had interrupted her performance. Then the attorney placed the sealed document on the table and said, "Before anyone asks Meredith to sign away anything, Evelyn Caldwell asked that one final clause be read aloud if this exact situation occurred." Lauren laughed. "This exact situation? What does that mean?" The attorney broke the seal, and when she began to read, my sister's smile disappeared. "Before I tell you what my grandmother had written, and why Lauren's husband pushed his chair back from the table, like he suddenly did not know who he had married, tell me what time it is where you are and where you're watching from." I always wonder how far stories travel when they are about families who call greed fairness. 3 weeks before that Christmas dinner, I had been standing inside a hospital supply warehouse at 6:20 in the morning, counting winter oxygen units with a clipboard in one hand and black coffee in the other, when my mother called. My company, North Star Care Logistics, helped rural clinics move medical equipment during storms, floods, heat waves, and power outages. It was not glamorous work. We did not have shiny offices or dramatic advertisements. Most of my year was spent in loading docks, county emergency rooms, and church basements where nurses tried to keep people alive after roads closed and generators failed. I built the company after watching my grandmother, Evelyn Caldwell, nearly lose access to her oxygen concentrator during a blizzard. That was 7 years earlier. My parents were in Florida on a golf trip. My sister Lauren was at a spa weekend she called necessary healing. I was the one who drove 40 miles through whiteout conditions because Grandma Evelyn called me and said, very calmly, "The power is gone, darling, and I have about 90 minutes left on the backup." I got her out safely. After that, I started building systems so other people's grandmothers would not have to depend on one frantic family member with snow tires and luck. The company grew slowly, then quickly, then painfully. We had contracts with county agencies, dialysis centers, elder care networks, and community hospitals across 4 states. I worked too much, slept too little, and learned that being useful did not always make you visible to your own family. Lauren was visible. Lauren was 3 years younger, prettier in the way my mother valued, and gifted at turning ordinary inconvenience into family theater. When she took Grandma Evelyn to one doctor's appointment, she posted a filtered photograph online with the caption, "Caring for the woman who taught me everything." When I organized Evelyn's medication delivery for 8 months, no one posted anything. When Lauren brought store-bought soup to my parents after my father's knee surgery, my mother told everyone Lauren was an angel. When I paid for the nighttime caregiver because neither of them could manage the stairs, my mother said, "Meredith has always been practical." Practical. That was the word my family used when they wanted to receive the benefit of my love without acknowledging that it was love. On the phone that morning, my mother sounded unusually sweet. "Meredith, we're having Christmas Eve dinner at the Sterling Room," she said. "Your father reserved the private room. Lauren and Daniel will be there with the kids. It would mean a lot if you came. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because the Sterling Room had been my grandmother's favorite restaurant, and none of them had wanted to go there while she was alive because it was too old-fashioned. Now that she had been gone 9 months, they were suddenly sentimental. "What is this really about?" I asked. My mother sighed. "Can't a mother want her daughters together at Christmas?" "She can. But you usually call me Meredith Ann when you want something. You used my soft voice name." Silence. Then she said, "The estate has created tension." There it was. Grandma Evelyn's estate had been in probate since spring. Everyone knew she had left me the old Caldwell house by the river, because I had been living there during the last year of her life to help coordinate care. What they did not know, or pretended not to know, was that the house was only a small part of what she left. My grandmother had been underestimated by nearly everyone. She wore cardigans with wooden buttons, clipped grocery coupons, and kept peppermints in every coat pocket. People saw the soft parts and missed the steel. After my grandfather died, she quietly managed his shares in a medical device company he had helped start in the 1980s. She reinvested dividends, bought land near 2 highway expansions before anyone else cared about it, and loaned money to 3 small clinics that later became part of a regional healthcare group. By the time she died, Evelyn Caldwell's estate was worth more than most of our family understood. After taxes, charitable commitments, property maintenance, and several specific gifts, the portion left in trust for me was valued at a little over $9 million. I did not ask for it. I did not expect it. And when her attorney, Meera Patel, told me the number, I cried so hard I had to leave the conference room. Not from happiness, from grief. Money can change your future, but it cannot call you darling from the kitchen table. It cannot ask you whether you have eaten. It cannot squeeze your hand and say, "You do too much for people who notice too little." Grandma Evelyn had noticed. That was what hurt. My mother continued on the phone. "Lauren feels blindsided." Lauren was left the beach condo, the jewelry set, and the education accounts for her children. "She has 3 children, Meredith." "I know their names, Mom." That tone is not helpful. What would be helpful? Coming to dinner with an open heart. An open heart in my family meant an open wallet. I told her I would think about it. That afternoon, I called Meera Patel. Meera had been my grandmother's lawyer for almost 15 years. She was in her late 50s, calm in a way that made dramatic people nervous, and she had the habit of repeating one precise question until someone answered it honestly. When I told her about the dinner invitation, she did not sound surprised. "Your grandmother anticipated pressure," she said. I stood in my office doorway and looked out at the warehouse floor, where my employees were loading portable battery packs onto a truck bound for a rural clinic. What kind of pressure? Family pressure, redistribution pressure, emotional pressure disguised as fairness. My throat tightened. "She talked to you about that?" "Several times." I hated that. Not because it was bad news, but because it meant Grandma Evelyn had been carrying more knowledge than she let me see. Meera asked me to come to her office before Christmas. I went the next day. She placed a sealed envelope on the table between us, but did not open it. "Evelyn gave instructions," she said. "This envelope is to be opened only if your family demands that you transfer any substantial portion of your inheritance to Lauren or your parents." I stared at it. Did she actually name Lauren? Yes. My stomach sank. Meera continued. "She also authorized me to attend any meeting where such a demand is made, provided you invite me." I almost said no immediately. I did not want an attorney at Christmas dinner. I did not want the scene, the faces, the way my mother would clutch her necklace and pretend I had brought a weapon into a family gathering. Then I remembered Lauren sitting beside Grandma Evelyn's hospital bed 5 days before she died, holding her phone at an angle that captured Lauren's face more clearly than Grandma's. "Family is everything," Lauren had whispered into the camera. Grandma's eyes had been closed. I had been in the hallway arguing with the oxygen vendor who tried to delay delivery because the billing code was wrong. Meera watched my face. Meredith, you do not have to protect people from the truth your grandmother deliberately preserved. I looked at the sealed envelope. What else did she preserve? Mira folded her hands. Enough. That was all she said. On Christmas Eve, I arrived at the Sterling Room 20 minutes early. The restaurant looked exactly as I remembered. Brick walls, brass lamps, dark green booths, and a fireplace that smelled faintly of cedar. For years, I had dreaded family dinners because I never knew which version of myself would be required. Useful, humble, loyal, silent. That night, I decided I would be accurate. Nothing more. Inside, the private dining room had been decorated with pine garlands and tall candles. A small Christmas tree stood in the corner with silver ornaments. The table was set for 10. My parents, Lauren and her husband Daniel, their 3 children, my Aunt Celia, my Uncle Robert, and me. No place had been set for Mira, which was fine. She was not due until later. Lauren arrived wearing a red dress, diamond earrings I recognized from Grandma's smaller jewelry case, and the expression of someone entering a room she believed she controlled. She hugged me with one arm. "There she is," she said brightly, "the secret heiress." My mother made a soft, warning noise. "Lauren." "What? We're allowed to be happy for her." My father poured himself water and did not look up. Lauren's oldest daughter, Sophie, ran to hug me. She was 12, kind, and too aware of adult tension. Her younger brothers, Max and Owen, fought over the chair closest to the breadbasket. I loved those children. That mattered later because anger becomes dangerous when it forgets who is innocent. Dinner began gently enough. My mother asked about the weather near the warehouse. My father asked whether my company still moved machines around, which was what he called medical logistics because he had never bothered to understand it. Lauren talked about a charity gala she wanted to chair, though the charity had not asked her. Daniel was quiet. He had been quiet for years, but that night he seemed watchful. Aunt Celia asked me how I was managing the Caldwell house. I told her the pipes needed work, but the roof was solid. Lauren laughed. "You're really going to live there alone? It's enormous. It has 3 bedrooms. And all those old closets full of Grandma's things. I don't know how you stand it." I did not say that I stood it because those closets still smelled faintly of lavender soap, and because grief sometimes needs a physical address. My mother redirected the conversation to family unity. She said Christmas was a time to remember what mattered. She said Grandma Evelyn would want harmony. She said inheritance often damaged families when people forgot generosity. Every sentence was a stair-step leading to the folder beside my father's chair. The demand came after the main course, just as servers cleared the plates. My father cleared his throat. "Meredith, we need to discuss the estate." "No, Richard," Aunt Celia said sharply. Everyone looked at her. My aunt had been my grandmother's younger sister. She was 72, wore purple glasses, and had spent most of her life being dismissed as eccentric because she said things plainly. My mother gave her a tight smile. "Celia, this concerns the immediate family." Celia leaned back. "Evelyn was my sister. I am immediate enough." Lauren's jaw tightened. My father pressed on. "This is not an attack. It's a conversation about fairness." He pulled the folder onto the table. I looked at the dark brown leather, the same folder he used when he wanted ordinary opinions to sound like legal decisions. "Fairness for whom?" I asked. My mother exhaled. "For everyone." Lauren set her wine glass down. "For once, Mary, don't make us drag it out of you. We all know Grandma left you around 9 million. The children stopped moving. Daniel's eyes flicked toward his wife. I said, "The adults can discuss this later." Lauren said, "No, my children should understand how family takes care of family." I looked at Sophie, whose face had gone pink with embarrassment. "This is not their burden." "It is their future," Lauren snapped. My mother reached across the table. "Your sister has 3 children, Meredith. She has tuition, medical expenses, a mortgage, and a future to think about. You have more money than one person needs." I asked, "How much money does one person need?" "That is not the point." "It seems exactly the point." Lauren leaned forward. "You got Grandma's house." You got the trust. You got the private meetings with the lawyer. You got everything because you were good at acting useful while the rest of us were living real lives. I felt that sentence enter the room and settle between us. Acting useful. I thought of oxygen tubing, medication alarms, legal forms, cleaning the bathroom after Grandma became too weak to reach it in time, sleeping on the couch because she panicked when she woke alone. I said nothing. Lauren mistook silence for weakness. I deserved that money too. Honestly, I deserved more. I'm the one with a family. I'm the one carrying the Caldwell name forward. You were always Grandma's little project because she felt sorry for you. My mother did not correct her. My father opened the folder. We are proposing a redistribution agreement, he said. Voluntary, of course. He slid the first page toward me. The language was formal but clumsy. It requested an immediate transfer of $4,250,000 to Lauren in recognition of family equity and emotional caregiving imbalance. It also required me to place another $1 million into education accounts controlled jointly by my parents and Lauren. The final page included a statement that I had received an unfairly disproportionate estate share due to undue emotional dependence during Evelyn Caldwell's decline. That phrase made the back of my neck go cold. Undue emotional dependence. Someone had tried to turn caregiving into manipulation. I looked at my father. Who wrote this? He did not answer. Lauren said, a consultant helped. What kind of consultant? A family wealth consultant. Aunt Celia snorted. Is that what we're calling vultures now? My mother glared at her. I turned the pages slowly. Did this consultant know Grandma had already left specific gifts to Lauren and the children? Lauren's face hardened. A condo with taxes and maintenance is not money. It's responsibility. You could sell it. It's part of Grandma's legacy. But the Caldwell house, which has a failing boiler and 30 years of repairs waiting, is a windfall? My father tapped the table. Do not twist this. Your sister needs liquid assets. You have them. I do? My mother frowned. Don't play games. No, I'm asking. Do you know how the trust is structured? Do you know what is liquid, what is restricted, what is charitable, what is taxable, what is held for the company foundation? Lauren rolled her eyes. There it is, the complicated speech so nobody can ask you for anything. You're not asking for anything. You prepared a contract. My mother's mouth tightened. We hoped you would sign tonight so we could begin healing. I almost laughed at that word. Healing in my family apparently began with a wire transfer. Daniel spoke for the first time. Lauren, I thought this was going to be a discussion. She turned on him. It is. A document with a signature line is not a discussion. The room shifted. Lauren had not expected Daniel to question her. My mother quickly said, Daniel, you understand what your family needs. He looked at the children, then at me. I understand we should not be doing this at dinner. Lauren's eyes flashed. Of course you'd say that. You never fight for us. That sentence told me this had not begun that night. There had been conversations, plans, rehearsals, maybe arguments at home. My father pushed a pen toward me. Meredith, no one is trying to hurt you. Sign an acknowledgement that you are willing to correct the imbalance. Details can be finalized after the holiday. I looked at the pen, then at the children, then at my mother, whose eyes were pleading now, not because she was sorry, but because she wanted me to cooperate before the situation became less controllable. I said, before I sign anything, there is someone who needs to join us. My mother's face changed. Who? The doors opened. Meera Patel entered in a charcoal coat with a red scarf and a document case in her hand. Behind her came a paralegal carrying a slim recording device and a bank representative from the trust office. My father stood. This is a private family dinner. Meera looked at the folder in front of me. Not anymore? Lauren laughed once, sharp and nervous. You brought a lawyer to Christmas? No, I said. Grandma did. That was when Meera placed the sealed envelope on the table. Aunt Celia bowed her head slightly, as if she had been expecting this and still dreaded it. Meera spoke clearly. Evelyn Caldwell instructed me to open and read this memorandum if any family member pressured Meredith to transfer, disclaim, redistribute, or otherwise surrender a substantial portion of her inheritance to Lauren Caldwell Voss, Denise Caldwell, or Richard Caldwell. My mother whispered, "Oh, Evelyn." Lauren crossed her arms. "This is ridiculous. Grandma was old and sick." Mira's eyes moved to her. She was medically evaluated 3 days before signing this memorandum, and again before executing the final will. She was clear. My father said, "We are not pressuring anyone." Aunt Celia pointed at the folder. "Then what's that, Richard? A Christmas menu?" Mira broke the seal. The sound was small, but everyone heard it. She unfolded 2 pages written in my grandmother's careful, slanted handwriting with a typed certification attached. Mira began to read. "If this letter is being read, then someone has asked Meredith to give away what I left her. I am disappointed, but I am not surprised." Lauren's face flushed. My mother pressed her fingers to her mouth. Mira continued. "I know the argument. Lauren has children. Meredith works too much. Denise believes visible need is more deserving than quiet sacrifice. Richard believes conflict can be solved by making the most responsible person pay for the least responsible one. I have watched this pattern for years. Nobody spoke. I could barely breathe. Grandma had seen it. She had seen all of it." Mira read on. "Lauren is not being deprived. She has already received far more from me during my lifetime than she is likely to admit. I paid the down payment on her first house. I paid the private school deposits for Sophie and Max. I covered the medical debt she described as an emergency, and later learned was credit card debt from a renovation. I purchased the Seabrook condo in her name because she cried that her children needed memories." Lauren stood up. "That's private." Mira did not look at her. "The total of these lifetime transfers, documented and acknowledged, exceeds $2,180,000. I made them willingly at the time. I do not regret helping my great-grandchildren. I do regret allowing Lauren to believe help was the same as entitlement." Daniel looked at Lauren. $2 million? She did not answer. Mira continued. "Meredith did not ask me for money. She gave me time, care, competence, and dignity when illness made me dependent. She fought insurance companies, arranged oxygen delivery, managed my medication, slept in a chair by my bed, and never once told me I was a burden. She did not perform love. She practiced it." I looked down because tears had blurred the table. My mother was crying too, but not the way I was. She looked exposed. Then came the sentence that changed the room. Therefore, any beneficiary who challenges Meredith's inheritance, pressures her to redistribute it, or attempts to characterize her caregiving as undue influence shall forfeit all unpaid gifts, trust access, property claims, and discretionary benefits under my estate. Lauren sat down slowly. My father said, "What does that mean in plain English?" Mira folded the page. "It means this agreement your family asked Meredith to sign may trigger the forfeiture clause if pursued." Lauren's voice rose. "You can't forfeit something already left to my kids." "The children's education accounts are protected," Mira said. "Evelyn was clear that minors should not pay for adult greed. Your personal discretionary distributions, however, are not protected." "What distributions?" Mira opened her document case and removed another folder. "The Seabrook Condo Maintenance Fund, the annual family allowance, the outstanding balance on the renovation note Evelyn forgave conditionally, the jewelry transfer pending appraisal, the voting interest in the Caldwell Clinic Charitable Board." My mother turned to my father. "You said the clause was symbolic." My father's face went pale. I looked at him. "You knew?" He swallowed. "We knew there was language." Lauren stared at him. "You said Grandma would never enforce it." Aunt Celia laughed softly without humor. "Evelyn has been dead for 9 months and is still the most competent person in this room." My father snapped, "Celia, enough." "No, Richard. Enough was years ago." Lauren rounded on me. "You planned this humiliation." "No," I said. "You planned a transfer. Grandma planned for honesty. Mira placed a copy of the will on the table and opened to a marked section. There is more. My mother shook her head. Mira, please. The lawyer looked at me. Meredith, do you want me to continue? Everyone looked at me then. For once, the decision was mine. I thought of every time my family had discussed me in rooms where I was not present. Every time they had converted my labor into luck and Lauren's spending into need. Every time my mother said, just help this once, as if once did not become a system when repeated for decades. I nodded. Mira continued. Evelyn's will included a statement regarding a missing sum of $340,000 from her personal care account during the final 18 months of her life. Lauren's expression went blank. Daniel turned toward her slowly. My mother closed her eyes. I had not known this part. Mira looked at the page. Evelyn discovered irregular withdrawals categorized as home safety improvements, caregiver reimbursements, and memory care deposits. She later determined that several invoices were false or duplicated. She declined to pursue legal action before her death because she did not want scandal during her illness. However, she instructed that any person who pressured Meredith after her death would lose the benefit of her silence. Lauren whispered, "That's not fair." Daniel said, "What withdrawals?" Lauren shook her head. "Not now." He stood. "What withdrawals, Lauren?" The children stared at their plates. Sophie's eyes filled with tears. I said, "The kids should leave." Daniel nodded immediately and asked the server to take them to the front lounge for dessert. Lauren tried to protest, but Sophie had already stood up, humiliated by adults who had forgotten she was listening. When the children were gone, Mira read the summary. False invoices had been submitted for bathroom safety rails that were never installed, overnight caregivers who never worked, and medical recliners that were never purchased. Some payments went to a company registered to Lauren's friend. Other amounts were transferred through a digital wallet connected to an email address Lauren used for her staging side business. The total confirmed amount was $276,000. Another $64,000 remained under review. I felt sick, not because of the money first, because Grandma Evelyn had known someone was stealing from her while she was sick. And still she had smiled at family dinners. Still she had held Lauren's children. Still she had asked my mother whether everyone was eating enough. Lauren began to cry. "I was drowning," she said. Daniel stepped back from the table. "In debt?" She nodded. "How long?" She did not answer. Mira continued before the room could reshape theft into tragedy. Evelyn's memorandum states that if Lauren acknowledges the withdrawals and enters repayment through the estate, no criminal referral will be initiated by the executor. If she denies the withdrawals while attempting to claim additional assets, the executor is instructed to provide the documentation to counsel for review. My father whispered, "Who is the executor?" Mira looked at me. "Meredith." My mother gasped. Lauren said, "No." One word, empty and terrified. I had known I was trustee of several structures, but not that Grandma had named me executor over disputed matters. Mira had told me there were responsibilities still sealed until needed. I understood now why she had said enough. My father turned to Mira. "This is vindictive." "No," Mira said. "It is conditional mercy." That phrase stayed with me. Conditional mercy. Grandma had offered Lauren a road back that did not require public destruction, but it required truth. The same thing my family had always avoided. Lauren covered her face. "I only took what Grandma would have given me." Daniel's voice broke. "You took from a sick woman. I took from my grandmother. That makes it worse." My mother snapped at him. "Daniel, she was scared." He looked at her in disbelief. "You knew?" My mother looked away. The table went colder. Daniel sat down very slowly. "Denise, did you know?" My mother said nothing. My father answered for her. "We knew Lauren had borrowed against expected inheritance." "Borrowed?" I said. "From Grandma's care account?" My father's hands shook. "We intended to fix it after probate." "With my money?" I said. No one denied it. That was when the entire shape of the evening became clear. The transfer agreement was not only about jealousy. It was not only about Lauren believing she deserved my inheritance. It was an attempted cleanup. $4 million would cover Lauren's debts, replace what had been taken, preserve my parents' image, maintain the condo, avoid legal review, and leave everyone able to say that family unity had been restored because Meredith had finally learned to share. I looked at my mother. You wanted me to pay back the money Lauren took from Grandma. My mother's face crumpled. I wanted to save the family. No, Aunt Celia said, voice shaking. You wanted to save the story. My father slammed his hand on the table. You have no idea what it is like to watch one daughter struggle while the other succeeds effortlessly. Effortlessly. That word released something in me. I stood up. The room became very still. Effortlessly, I said. I missed holidays because I was covering clinic deliveries. I slept in my car during ice storms. I built a company while you called it moving boxes. I managed Grandma's care while Lauren posted pictures with her. I paid for repairs, bills, aids, and equipment without asking for applause. The only effortless thing in this family was how easily all of you spent what I earned, and then called me selfish for keeping anything. My mother whispered my name. I looked at her. No, you don't get to soften me with my name tonight. Lauren cried harder. I'm your sister. You were my sister when you took money from Grandma's care account. You were my sister when you let your children believe I stole their future. You were my sister when you called my caregiving manipulation. I didn't write that phrase. You signed the agreement. She looked down. Mira then explained the immediate consequences. Lauren had 30 days to acknowledge the improper withdrawals and enter a repayment agreement with the estate. The Seabrook Condo Maintenance Fund would be suspended. Lauren's discretionary distributions would freeze. My parents' access to estate advisory roles would end. The family charitable board seat they expected Lauren to receive would pass to an independent community health representative. My mother said, "You would embarrass us publicly?" Mira answered, "The will does not require public embarrassment. It requires accountability. Those are not the same." My father asked whether I could waive enforcement. Mira looked at me. I could. That was the worst part. Power is not always satisfying. Sometimes it is simply another room where everyone waits for the injured person to become generous enough to spare them. Lauren looked at me with swollen eyes. Mary, please. She had not called me Mary since we were teenagers. I almost remembered her at 16, painting my nails badly before homecoming because I was too nervous to go downstairs. I remembered her making me laugh after a boy stood me up. I remembered the sister who once pulled me behind her when a dog scared me on the sidewalk. People are rarely only the worst thing they have done. That does not mean they should escape it. I said, "I will follow Grandma's instructions." Lauren's face collapsed. My mother said, "On Christmas Eve?" I looked around the table. You chose Christmas Eve because you thought I would be too ashamed to refuse in front of everyone. Do not ask me to treat the date as sacred after using it as leverage. Daniel left the table to check on the children. When he returned, his face had changed. He looked less angry than devastated, which somehow hurt more. I need copies, he told Mira. Lauren stared at him. For what? For a lawyer. She began sobbing again. My mother reached toward her, but Lauren pulled away. You told me Meredith would fold, Lauren said. You promised. My mother closed her eyes. There it was, the family plan in one sentence. You promised she would fold. They had mistaken my endurance for consent. I gathered my coat. My father stood in my way. Meredith, if you walk out now, this family may not recover. I looked at him. Then it was not recovery you wanted. It was my silence. I paid my portion of the dinner bill at the front desk because I did not want them claiming I had accepted even a meal under false terms. Then I walked outside into the cold. The snow had begun falling lightly, dusting the windshields and the stone steps. I stood under the restaurant awning and finally allowed myself to cry. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to admit that even when you know the truth, losing the illusion still hurts. Mira came out a few minutes later and stood beside me. Evelyn hoped it would not come to this, she said. I know. She also believed you would survive it if it did. I wiped my face. That sounds like her. Over the next 6 weeks, my family did what families often do when truth arrives with documents. They tried to negotiate with reality. Lauren first claimed she had never read the agreement carefully. Then she claimed my father pressured her. Then she claimed Grandma had verbally promised to forgive everything. Mira asked for dates, witnesses, and records. Lauren had none. Daniel moved with the children into his brother's guest house while he reviewed their finances. He discovered more debt than Lauren had admitted. Credit cards, business loans, private school balances, a second mortgage on their home, and unpaid taxes from a failed boutique project she had described as on pause. The theft from Grandma's care account had not been her first financial deception. It had simply been the one Grandma documented. My parents tried to pressure me privately. My mother left voice messages that began with apologies and ended with requests. My father sent emails about family legacy, reputational damage, and the danger of allowing lawyers to make moral decisions. I answered once. Grandma made the moral decision. Mira is only reading it. After that, I let my attorney respond. Lauren entered a repayment agreement on the 29th day. Not because she was ready to confess fully, because the alternative was worse. She agreed to repay the confirmed amount over time, using proceeds from selling the Seabrook condo. That sale broke her. Not because she loved the condo as a family place, but because it had become the symbol she used online to prove that she was living the life she believed she deserved. Her social media changed from beach sunsets to inspirational quotes about betrayal. A vendor she owed money to commented publicly, "Pay your invoices before posting about loyalty." The comment disappeared within minutes, but screenshots lasted longer. My mother called me cruel for not stopping people from attacking Lauren. I reminded her I had not posted anything. "You don't have to post," she said. "Your silence gives them permission." For years, my silence had protected Lauren. Now, according to my mother, silence was harming her because it no longer performed defense. That was when I understood how deeply the pattern ran. They did not want my voice. They wanted my silence assigned to their needs. The estate recovered enough money to repair the damage to the care account. Lauren lost the condo, the discretionary distributions, and the board seat. She did not lose the education accounts for her children because Grandma had protected them. I was grateful for that. Children should not pay for adult entitlement. Daniel filed for legal separation, then paused it after Lauren agreed to therapy, financial disclosure, and a debt management plan. Their marriage became none of my business, which was healthier than the years I spent being expected to rescue it from a distance. My parents faced a different consequence. Not legal, social. Aunt Celia told the truth to 2 relatives who had been told I stole the estate. They told others. By spring, the family no longer saw me as the cold granddaughter who manipulated a dying woman. They saw a woman who had been asked to pay for theft committed against the grandmother she cared for. My mother hated that. She preferred private apologies and public misunderstanding. I did not allow that arrangement. When relatives called, I did not give them every document. I simply said, "Grandma's will is being followed. Lauren received significant lifetime gifts, and there were care account irregularities she is repaying." That was enough. Truth does not always need volume. Sometimes it only needs to stop hiding. Summer arrived. The Caldwell house began to feel less like a museum and more like a home. I repaired the boiler, painted the porch, and created the Evelyn Caldwell Rural Care Fund using part of the trust income. Not because my family demanded generosity, but because my grandmother had taught me that good planning can become love when it reaches people in time. The following Christmas, I did not attend the Sterling Room. I hosted dinner at the Caldwell house for Aunt Celia, 2 employees stranded by weather, Mira, and 3 neighbors I had gotten to know. because one of them kept bringing me terrible zucchini bread with great pride. We ate soup from Grandma's recipe, burned the rolls slightly, and laughed when the lights flickered because the backup system kicked on instantly. At 8:17 p.m., my phone buzzed. A message from Lauren. I almost did not open it. Then I did. It said, "I'm not ready to ask forgiveness." That would be selfish. I just want to say I know now that I wanted your inheritance because I thought money would prove Grandma loved me too. What I did to her was wrong. What I tried to do to you was wrong. I am repaying the estate. I am sorry. I read it twice. Then I set the phone down. Mira, sitting across from me, noticed but did not ask. That is the thing about people who respect boundaries. They can see a door and not force it open. Later, alone in the kitchen, I replied, "Keep doing the work. Words are not the repair," Lauren wrote back. I know. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't. But for the first time, she had not asked for anything. My parents sent a card. My mother signed it, with love and accountability. It was awkward, almost painfully so, but awkward effort is still effort. My father included a small photograph I had never seen. It was Grandma Evelyn and me in her garden, taken from the kitchen window. I was kneeling beside her tomato plants, tying a stem to a stake. Grandma was watching me, not the plant, with an expression so full of affection that I had to sit down. On the back, my father had written, "She saw you clearly. I am sorry I didn't." I placed the photo on the mantel. Not because everything was forgiven, because truth deserves a place in the house. People sometimes ask whether I regret not giving Lauren the money. I don't. I regret that my grandmother had to write protections into her will because she knew the people at her table would confuse love with access. I regret that my sister's children had to watch adults turn inheritance into a battlefield. I regret the years I spent believing that being useful was the closest I would get to being valued. But I do not regret letting the lawyer open the will. That will did not destroy my family. It exposed the terms under which my family had been operating for years. Lauren needed loudly. My parents protected loudly. I gave quietly. And everyone called that balance until Grandma Evelyn wrote the truth in ink. The $9 million did not make me powerful. The will did not make me worthy. My grandmother's words did not create my value. They only confirmed what I had been too lonely to trust. I had not manipulated her by showing up. I had loved her. I had not stolen from my sister by receiving what was left to me. I had honored the person who finally honored me back. Family is not proven by who demands the largest share at Christmas. It is proven by who shows up when there is nothing to gain, who tells the truth when silence would be easier, and who can celebrate your blessing without calculating how to take it. My sister said she deserved my $9 million more than I did. Then the lawyer opened the will. And for the first time in my life, the person who had always been expected to give until nothing was left finally got to keep what love had chosen for her. So tell me, if your family called your inheritance unfair because you were the responsible one, would you give it away to keep the peace, or would you let the truth be read out loud? Share your thoughts below. Someone reading your words may need the courage to stop mistaking guilt for love. Thank you for listening to this fictional story until the end. It was created for entertainment, reflection, and discussion. It is not meant to represent real people or real events. Sometimes life does not remove a family from your path to punish you. Sometimes it reveals which people only loved the version of you they could use.